Hi guys, it's Val, Toxic Free. Happy Sunday. Okay, welcome. Thank you for joining me today. Today I'm going to do a video on a few things that I've picked up on. Some videos I watch, I get a bit confused. What's new? There's a lot of terms flying around that unless you understand what they mean, it can be quite confusing. There's a lot of people that join this community fresh. Sorry if you have just joined. Yeah. There's a lot of people that have been on for a long time, and there's a lot of people that know all the terms, and there's a lot of people that sort of don't know all the terms. And I think sometimes we forget, because we talk about everything for a long time, we've been on the channel for a long time, and we think that, you know, the people that are with us know everything. Well, there is new people forever coming onto this community. And again, I think we forget that all these terms are new to them. So sometimes, I know I do, I get to the point where I talk like everybody knows what I'm talking about. Nope, that doesn't happen very often. So I'm going to start going into the terms of a few things that I know even still confused me a little bit. So I'm going to start off with PTSD and CPTSD. A lot of people see these letters and hear these letters in videos and don't actually know what they mean, because I think a lot of people talk about PTSD, CPTSD, all that, but forget that people think, what the hell do they stand for? What does them? It's like trying to learn French. You need to know the words before you can say the sentence. So I think that's what it is. PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, which means post, means after a stress. Complex is complex post-traumatic stress disorder. Now I'm going to go into the details of both of them. So sometimes, you know, I'm watching these videos and I'm sort of bombarded with information, and literally my brain bleeds and my eyes glaze over. You've probably seen that quite often. And I just get lost. I can't say the word departmentalization. Whoa, it's a Sunday. Departmentalization. Yes, that word. A lot of people want to do that. I'm not going to try and say it again because it hurts my mouth. A lot of people want to put everybody into a bracket, into a box. I just think, you know, for instance, if narcissism's blue and if sociopaths are green and bipolar is orange, I think people are rainbows. You get a personality and they have maybe all a little bit of each person. They have a little bit of each quality, I don't know if quality is the right word. It's not really a quality, is it? A little piece of all these different symptoms and traits. They kind of swap and change, and there's grey areas, there's black and white. That's why I find it very, very, very difficult in my brain to suss out who's who, because everybody has a little bit of everything. Do you know what? Toxic. As long as I know that someone is a bad apple, someone's toxic, someone's a nightmare, someone's horrible, that's all I need to know. But to know the words and the terms, so at least, you know, when you are watching a video and someone's talking about histrionic or borderline and things like that, you get an idea of at least what they're talking about. Otherwise, again, you just end up glazing over and turning off to somebody else. So that's what I'm going to do. Just in the next few videos, go into the terms that confuse me, and if they confuse me, they might confuse a lot of other people. Mind you, I'm not the cleverest person on YouTube, I will admit that. So yeah, that's what I want to do, and try and explain it in an easy way. So if you have been around for a long time and you do know all the words, all the terms, you know, you may want to stay and just laugh at me, or you may want to just kind of swipe on by right now, because I am going to be very basic in this video. I'm not going to confuse people. I'm just going to try and help those that have just joined us, because again, not everybody knows everything. I've also written it down. I've done my Googling. I don't like Googling, but I'm not that clever. I don't profess to be a psychologist. I'm not trained. I'm just me that wants to help people, and again, sometimes I do my own experiences and talk, and sometimes I like to Google. So this is a Google one. PTSD stands for post-traumatic stress disorder, obviously post-trauma, after the experience. This is due to a trauma from a devastating situation. People with PTSD suffer anxiety, flashbacks, difficulty sleeping, bad dreams and night terrors. It's not only associated with the soldiers that come back from combat after horrendous experiences, it's also associated with narcissism. Obviously with combat is called shell shock. That's what it was always called, because the shells going off and banging and things like that. When they came back, they would be traumatized every time they heard a big loud bang, because it was called shell shock. So that's a little bit extra. It's the fight or flight response that victims from narcissists have daily. It's there to prevent us from harm. Daily triggers: loud bangs for ex-soldiers, as I've just said. You might see the sight of a car drive past that's the same car as your ex-boyfriend, ex-husband. You get that trigger, that adrenaline rush. That's also PTSD, where you start to panic and think that he's probably driving around your area, and he's probably not. It's just PTSD. Someone with PTSD often relives the experience. PTSD is suffered by veterans, which is also known as shell shock, which I've just mentioned before. I'm ahead of myself. There are lots of misconceptions about PTSD. For example, people may wrongly assume it means that you're dwelling on it. It's not dwelling on it. It's something you can't actually help. They assume that, you know, you're just dwelling on the past events. It's not like that. They might even suggest that you just get over it. Well, that's not on. No, don't, and move on. You can't just get over something like PTSD and then just move on. You need therapy, you need help. PTSD isn't a choice or a sign of weakness. And it's important to remember that you're not alone. PTSD can develop immediately after someone's experienced a disturbing event, or it can occur weeks or months or years after that experience. The type of events that can cause PTSD include serious road accidents, violent personal assaults, mugging or robbery, prolonged sexual abuse, violence or severe neglect, witnessing violent deaths, military combat, being held hostage, terrorist attacks, natural disasters such as severe floods, earthquakes or tsunamis. PTSD is estimated to affect about 1 in 3 people who have traumatic experiences, but it's not clear exactly why some people develop the condition and others don't. PTS symptoms are anxiety, including panic attacks, sleep disturbance, flashbacks, intense fear, difficulty falling or staying asleep, diminished interest in activities, feeling of detachment, restricted range of emotions, irritability or outbursts of anger, difficulty concentrating, hypervigilance, exaggerated startle response, sense of foreshortened future, e.g. they think that they're not going to get married or have children, and they're not going to get a job or career, and a short lifespan. Persistent symptoms of increased arousal. Post-traumatic stress disorder treatment can be helped to regain a sense of control of your life. The primary treatment is psychotherapy. Anyway, you know I can't do talking on a Sunday. Post-traumatic stress disorder treatment can help to regain a sense of control of your life. The primary treatment is psychotherapy, but it can also include medication. Combining these treatments can help you improve your symptoms. Teaching you skills to address your symptoms, helping you think better about yourself and others in the world, learning ways to cope if the symptoms arise again. You don't have to try and handle the burden of PTSD on your own. Now, complex PTSD. This means obviously complex post-trauma after the trauma. What's the difference between PTSD and CPTSD? Yeah, although complex PTSD is used for those who have experienced a trauma like captivity or entrapment, so it's longer term, it's not so much just a short term. Narcissism can last, I mean, my experience was like with Stumpy, I've not mentioned his name for a while. That was maybe only 7 or 8 months, but bloody hell did it leave me shell-shocked. Control and manipulation. As I see entrapment of your emotions, so that's also how I see entrapment for a long time. Emotional entrapment, manipulation, walking on eggshells, not being yourself. Someone controlling your emotions, someone playing with your mind, somebody scripting your world so that your emotions are controlled by someone else and not by you anymore. That to me is entrapment. It may not be physical, but it's emotional. People who repeatedly experience traumatic situations such as severe neglect, abuse or violence that may be diagnosed a complex PTSD. Complex PTSD can cause similar symptoms to PTSD and may not develop until years after the event. It's often more severe if a trauma was experienced early on in life and can affect a child's development. These are the situations where you might get CPTSD. Concentration camps, prisoner of war camps, prostitution brothels, long-term domestic violence, long-term child physical abuse, long-term child sexual abuse, organised child exploitation rings, even cults, people that are in cults for a long time and they escape, they can also suffer from CPTSD. Complex post-traumatic disorder is a psychological disorder thought to occur as a result of repetitive prolonged trauma involving harm or abandonment by a caregiver or an uneven power dynamic. So it's somebody that you love, somebody that's a caretaker, someone that's supposed to be there for you, and they treat you really, really bad. The symptoms that you get from CPTSD: difficulty controlling your emotions, feeling very hostile or distrustful towards the world, constant feelings of emptiness or hopelessness, feelings as if you are permanently damaged or worthless, feeling as if you are completely different to other people, feeling like nobody can understand what's happened to you, avoiding friendships and relationships or finding them very, very difficult, often experience dissociative symptoms or regular suicidal feelings. Complex PTSD is harder to treat, recover from, than simple PTSD. Not only are there multiple traumas, but the long-term nature of the trauma leads to additional symptoms. Focusing or improving the individual's safety will help reduce the symptoms. I'm trying to work that one out because I don't want to confuse you. Focusing on improving the individual's safety will help reduce the symptoms, which increase the person's emotions. So yeah, if they're in an environment where it's increasing their emotions, they really need to get out and they need help, and somebody needs to rehome them or just get them moved into a safer environment. Healing from CPTSD often involves medication, improving the victim's life, dealing with the symptoms like depression, anxiety or self-harm. And it's possible establishing a safe environment, like I've just said. I know I repeat myself sometimes. How to deal with it is teach the individual to let go of things that they cannot control. Individual therapy will assist in helping the victim achieve small goals. Measured accomplishments and validation of these small goals will give the person back their worth and make them feel like they're actually aiming in the right direction. Counselling should promote self-discovery and self-regulation, as well as help to assist repairing relationships. With CPTSD, it's looking at what's caused it and facing what's caused it and working through it. A lot is buried, and when it comes to the surface, it's painful. Talking to a therapist and getting it out helps, even talking about it to someone. But getting it out and talking about it, taking responsibility for yourself, talking helps dump the shame. Talk about the traumatic event with your therapist, again, sort of how it's related and how it's affecting your life. For example, maybe you've just been blaming yourself for something. Your therapist will help you and work it through with you. Take into account all the things that are beyond your control. So you can move forward, understanding and accepting that deep down it wasn't your fault, despite things that you did or didn't do. So I hope that helps with that. Now I'm going to do more on the terms histrionics, borderline, all the other words that seem really confusing. So if you do want to know more about that and you're a little bit confused about it all, just subscribe and you'll get a notification to send my next videos out, which is normally on Sunday or Monday, depending if I've been out the night before. Guys, I hope that's made sense. If you've got any questions, I'll try and answer them. Again, I'm just me. I just want to help. I hope I've not confused you. If you've got any questions, just ask it below. Okay, guys, take care. Okay, stay safe.